Zombies are everywhere. They're in our movies, our TV shows, our video games, and even our emergency preparedness plans. Entire genres are built around them. But here's the strange thing. Zombies aren't real. They never have been. Unlike ghosts or vampires, they don't even pretend to come from ancient religion or mythology. Biologically, they're impossible. So the real question isn't why zombies are scary. It's why we keep coming back to them, reshaping them again and again across different eras and cultures. This isn't just a story about monsters. It's a story about our deepest fears of control, collapse, and identity. To understand why zombies just won't die, we need to look at what they represented long before Hollywood, how they changed over time, and why they remain so powerful today, even when we know they're not real. The first zombies didn't crawl out of a grave in a horror movie. They came from Haitian folklore, born from the real-life trauma of slavery and colonial violence. In these original stories, a zombie wasn't a rotting corpse. It was a living person who had lost their free will, their identity, and their personal agency. A zombie was someone who could move, work, and obey, but they no longer belonged to themselves. Anthropologists who studied Haitian beliefs in the early 20th century found that zombification was the ultimate symbol of enslavement. It was the terror of being alive, conscious, but permanently controlled by someone else. This is so important. The original zombies weren't about the fear of death. They were about the horror of having your power, your very self, taken away. In societies where people had actually experienced forced labor and erased identities, the idea of becoming a zombie was far worse than dying. So, from the very beginning, zombies weren't meant to just shock you. They were a warning. They represented what happens when human beings are reduced to mindless tools bodies without souls. And that psychological core, that fear of losing your autonomy, would survive every single version of the zombie to come. When the idea of zombies first entered Western culture in the early 1900s, almost all of that original, painful meaning was lost. Western audiences saw zombies through a colonial lens. They were exotic, primitive, and mysterious. The deep cultural trauma that created the folklore was stripped away, and zombies were reframed as strange horror spectacles and foreign threats. But even in this distorted form, something deeply unsettling remained. The zombie still represented a human body that no longer listened to reason, morality, or authority. At the same time, industrial societies were changing rapidly. People were anxious about factory labor, mechanization, and crowded cities. There was a growing fear of becoming just another interchangeable, mindless cog in a giant machine. The zombie, without anyone really planning it, started to align with this new anxiety. Even before they became mainstream monsters, zombies had already shifted from a specific folklore figure into a powerful social metaphor. The modern zombie as we know it today exploded onto the scene in the late 1960s. This new version got rid of all the magic and ritual. There was no curse, no sorcerer, and absolutely no explanation. The dead simply rose, and they just kept coming. What made this transformation so groundbreaking wasn't the violence or the gore. It was the scale. Zombies no longer threatened one person at a time. They overwhelmed entire societies. The police failed. Governments collapsed. Communication systems broke down. And the most terrifying part? No one knew why it was happening. This uncertainty was key. It allowed zombies to become a blank canvas for any and all of our fears. Unlike a monster you could understand and defeat, zombies represented problems that just spread, multiplied, and resisted every solution. This shift permanently changed horror. From this point on, zombies were no longer just folklore creatures. They had become a stress test for civilization itself. As our world became more complex, zombie stories evolved right alongside it. Zombies started to represent all sorts of modern anxieties: global pandemics, economic collapse, bureaucratic paralysis, mass panic, and even environmental breakdown. Unlike a classic villain, zombies have no grand plan. And that's exactly the point. They reflect a growing fear in modern life, that some of the biggest threats don't come from a specific enemy. They come from systems failing, one after another, in a cascading disaster. Zombie narratives let us explore what happens when the supply chains stop, when authority loses all legitimacy, and when survival becomes a personal, brutal responsibility. These stories mirror our real-world anxieties without needing to be realistic. They don't predict the future. They model our fears about it. Other horror icons seem to fade in and out of fashion. Dracula has his moments. Werewolves come and go. But zombies? They never disappear. And that's because zombies are incredibly adaptable. Over the years, they've symbolized the fear of infection, the fear of crowds, the fear of losing our individuality, and the fear of living through an endless crisis with no meaning. You don't need to believe in the supernatural for zombies to scare you. You just need to believe that order is fragile, that systems can fail, and that people panic under pressure. And since those beliefs are pretty much universal, zombie stories work across cultures, languages, and generations. In the end, zombies are not about the dead. They are about us, the living. They force us to ask uncomfortable questions. What happens when the rules disappear? Who do you become when society collapses? What's left of you when your identity, your community, and your sense of certainty are all stripped away? Zombie stories survive because they change with us. They aren't really warnings about monsters walking the earth. They are reflections of our own anxieties. And as long as human beings fear losing control, meaning, and their own agency, zombies will continue to walk through our stories. Not because they are real, but because the fears that they represent most certainly are. Thanks for watching.